In a realm ruled by elves, where wisdom is the greatest virtue, one prince stands at odds with his destiny. Meet an aspiring ruler whose arrogance overshadows his potential, seeking to master leadership. A human tutor arrives, a symbol of the universe's wisdom in a humanoid form. Can he turn the tide for the struggling prince? In a universe where humans are space orcs, even the most advanced races have much to learn. Don't miss this intriguing HFY Reddit story.
Call for my next tutor and see if he has a lesson for me, the elven prince ordered with a long sigh, looking at the terrified minister who had just delivered bad news of an order that had been poorly fulfilled by one of his nobles. A few minutes passed as he continued to stew over the report when a knock at his door finally rang out. "Enter," the prince ordered without looking up from the report. "Greetings, Your Highness. I am your new tutor." Entering his room was a human man who gave a deep genuflection towards the young royal. The prince glanced up at the man and immediately exhaled. Another person too eager to get in his good books. The prince pointed out a finger at the tutor. "You have bowed too low." "I have not, Your Highness. A bow of this depth is in greeting," the man replied, moving up to an acceptable height. "But the height I gave is for when the other is of much higher status." "I see," the prince replied, gnawing on the end of his pen. "So what is it you are to teach me the others could not?" "Wisdom, Your Highness." The prince couldn't help but let out a snort in amusement. "I have plenty of wisdom already." "Do you?" "Perhaps you believe that. But I suggest that anyone who believes himself wise is merely a fool." "Are you calling me the prince of this here sylvan forests a fool?" "On this occasion, yes. As a tutor, I would hope to educate you, but if you do not wish me to and desire to remain a fool, albeit a learned fool, then I shall take my leave, as this position no longer interests me." "You would do well to watch your tongue," the prince snarled as the pen in his grip began to bend. It was as a swirling frustration bubbled to the surface, he struck upon an idea. "Very well. I shall put you to the test, tutor. Should you fail, I shall cut your spiteful tongue from your traitorous mouth. I am yet to hear what I get if I win. Simple. You get your life and continue to work." "Very well, please share your test." The prince grinned as he moved the report he was given of the noble's failure and spun it so the man could read it. "Give me the reason this failed and how it could be prevented." The man approached the desk and read over the document. The prince waited for him to confirm the noble had failed and needed to be executed, but to his surprise the man did not. "Can I see a document containing the order when it was given?" "Why? It is clearly stated here in the report. What is written here may differ from the original order." With an exasperated sigh, the elven prince reached into a drawer and collected the original order. Just as he knew, the order was clear as day to anyone who would read it. Proffering it to the human, he waited. The man began to give a sagely nod. "I see this man clearly is a fool." "I agree," the prince replied, a smirk growing across his face. "You agree you are a fool, Your Highness?" The prince's smirk vanished in the blink of an eye as he stared at the man, mouth hanging agape. "You dare suggest this failure is my fault?" "I do indeed, Your Highness." "Explain. May I tell a story?" "What?" "Your Highness, may I tell a story to help explain my reasoning?" Intrigued about where this standing dead man was going, the prince waved his hand to indicate for the human to continue. "There was once a wise king who no one would ever disobey. Such as a king I shall become," the prince replied, puffing his chest in pride. One day he received a letter from another king telling him that this other king's subjects were so loyal they would do anything he ordered, not one to be outdone by another. The king called for his most loyal and wise noble. "Did he plan to order him to do something?" The man nodded. "That he did. You see, when this noble stood before him, he asked him a question." Pausing, the man squared up his shoulders as he put on an imperious voice. "Nobleman, would you do anything I ordered you to do?" "As is his duty." The prince nodded. The nobleman replied, "Of course, my king, should you order it, I shall cut my own throat." The prince let out a sigh of admiration. "How loyal, I suppose." Hearing this, the king looked at his most loyal follower and was struck by the idea. Why not order him to do just that? He could tell his rival king that his subjects were so loyal, they'd even kill themselves for him. You don't mean? Indeed, this king ordered the nobleman to cut his own throat. Did he do it? No, the man replied, shaking his head. He said, "My king, I apologize, but I cannot do such a thing." But he just said, the prince began before pausing, seeing the man holding up a hand to stop him. The nobleman explained, "I would be glad to cut my own throat as you ordered, but I have no blade with which to do it. If you would allow me the use of one of your guard's blades, I shall follow your order." Ah, so the king gave an order that wasn't within the noble's capabilities at the time? Yes, the noble himself was loyal and willing, but he did not have the means to carry out the order. Is that the moral of this tale? The prince asked, unimpressed. No, there's more, the man chuckled. When the nobleman was given a dagger by a knight, he held the blade to his throat, looked at the king, and asked, "Is this truly your desire, your majesty?" So he quibbles? He wished to ensure that it was his king's true order, not one made in a moment of error. I can see on the document that the noble requested such clarification from you, your highness. Yet the only response was, "It is obvious, is it not?" The prince couldn't help but click his tongue at this point. So what happened next, then? He ran the blade across his throat, letting blood spill forth. He actually did it. The prince failed to hide the shock on his face. "Yes, a cut across his throat," the man replied, running a finger along where he imagined the blade cut. A cut so shallow that a cut shaving would be felt worse. So he deceived his king and didn't follow the order? No, he did. The king ordered he cut his own throat, and he did. This was the king's third failing. Third? First was not ensuring the order could be fulfilled. The second was ensuring it was not an order made in error. The third and final error was not clarifying the depth that he desired. Put simply, he left too much to interpretation. I see. The nobleman did technically cut his own throat, but it was nary a nick. The nobleman was not told to cut deep, so he took the option that best favored him and his opinion. Exactly. Now, your highness, please look at the order you gave. Yes, it says, "Take care of the village that birthed a rebel." And what did the nobleman do? He lowered their taxes as they had had a poor harvest. Why did he do that? Because he was a fool? No. He asked you for clarification on your order, your highness. You ordered he take care of the village, no doubt with the intent of seeing it razed, but he lacked troops, so he did not have a way to deal with it. So he requested clarification so that if needed he could request troops. But you told him it is obvious what you mean. So with the resources he had at hand, he took the option within his interpretation. So this is... The prince swallowed back the rest of his words. Yes, it is your failure. You did not communicate. You expected everyone to see it from your perspective and ignored all requests from a loyal noble for help to see it your way. And you intend to punish this man? I see. Leniency shall be better here. I submit human. You have taught me a lesson. Are all humans like this? Hardly. We have these lessons, yet we tend to fail to implement them. Though I hope you will enjoy my lessons and implement them better than the human royals I have taught.